Hello and welcome to Odds on Serie A 28th match day. We have Napoli Milan, the first and the second. So let's analyze all the games, of course, with Daniele Fisichella and with you. Remember to leave your comments about the video and don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. New match day in Serie A, Danny. It looks like no team wants to win this Scudetto, and perhaps Juve is already there to win it again.
Hi Edu, well you've been back and forth in holiday, and you came back that yes, everything changed, but nothing changed in Serie A. Yes, because a lot of the big teams have dropped points. Inter haven't scored since you've been on holiday, since 4 weeks. Milan are stuttering as well. Napoli, great win at the weekend at Lazio, and Juventus, surely they cannot do it, can they? They can. I think they can.
I think they can, Danny. I haven't been on holidays that long. I saw Inter also unable to score, for instance, in the Champions League. So let's start with Inter. Actually, on Friday, they are facing Salernitana. You were mentioning the negative records for Inter facing Liverpool in the Champions League in the following week. So, Danny, for sure, they are facing now the best team they can face in Serie A, although this Salernitana is improved.
But we did say that also when they went to Genoa last weekend and they couldn't score, 0-0. Well, they haven't scored in 4 consecutive games now, including the cup games, including the derby yesterday. Really, really underwhelming from Inter. In Serie A, 53 shots, 0 goal. To find the last goal was Dzeko at the San Paolo in that crucial draw for Inter. They look fatigued, they looked disjointed, they played very far from each other, and the two attackers, they're not linking up as they had to do before. Lautaro and Dzeko spent half of the derby just basically told each other where to go, and they were not very nice words. It is an Inter that they try to play the way they did before, but I don't think the physical condition is there. Also, in other players like Barella, Çalhanoğlu, the defense has been leaking a couple of goals, always conceded a couple of goals in the last few home games, apart from the 0-0 at Genoa. And now, obviously, with Salernitana, it is a big chance because, Inter is still the best attack in Serie A, 55 goals. They face the worst attack in Serie A, Salernitana, with 20. Salernitana is also the worst defense in Serie A. But, Salernitana is unbeaten in the last 4. They always scored in the last 5 games. Actually, if you look at the last 5 games in Serie A, Salernitana scored 7 goals. Inter only scored 4. So, in this case, you would fancy maybe Salernitana to go on the score sheet. But it is true that the new signings in January have revitalized Salernitana. They have a very good manager, Davide Nicola, who know how to fight for relegation. They had a lot of chances against Bologna. The problem is obviously they can't win, and they always seem to concede a couple. They will go to Milano without Radovanovic, very important in the middle of the field, without Ribéry, without Koulibaly, maybe without Bonazzoli. Inter has slowly recovered some of the key players. Gosens, Correa, we saw Caicedo. They need something different up front. Look, they have no chances going to Liverpool to qualify, so I'm sure they will rest some players for Liverpool, because then they play Torino away. That's going to be tough. They need to win this one, because on Sunday there is Napoli, Milan, and they have a chance to at least close the gap with one of the two, or maybe both. I cannot see Inter scoring a lot of goals here. So you could even go for a nation handicap for Salernitana, because it pays really well, plus 2.25. That plays well. But if Inter are going to win this one, they're going to win it by a tight margin, I think. It's not going to be spectacular. Inter to win 2-0, 183.
Salernitana to win is 26. Danny, we want a surprise. Both teams to score 2.4 if Salernitana is again in the score sheet, as you mentioned. Then on Saturday, we have Udinese Sampdoria, low odds for Udinese to win, 1.9, because this team is improved in the last weeks, only one defeat in the last 5, and because, Danny, Sampdoria is very bad playing away, last 4 away games, defeats without scoring a single goal.
Yeah, and at Bergamo they were non-existent. Atalanta pounched them from the start, imposed the rhythm. They ended up conceding 4, and they didn't really lay a glove on an Atalanta side that often concedes at home. Yet Giampaolo played with 2 up front, with Caputo, with Quagliarella, with Sensi behind the striker. No surprises, Sensi then had another muscular problem, so he had to come off. So Sampdoria away from home, they've been really underwhelming. 1 goal in the last 5 if away. If we exclude the derby, which is played on the same pitch anyway, it's only 2 goals in the last 6 away games for Sampdoria. They seem to miss Gabbiadini, of course, who was scoring a few goals. I even thought he could get a call-up in the national team. He's injured, so he's out for the season. These 2 teams are level on points, plus 4 points on Venezia, which is at the moment the third team to be relegated. Udinese, though, have got 2 games in hand. They are improving. And Milan, I like them. I like the reaction in the second half after conceding the first goal. They had a few chances. Udoge's goal should have been disallowed because he was scored with the hand. The referee and the VAR didn't see it. Again, Milan complaining with reason for this time, but Udinese had their chances. Again, I think it's a team that has got quality. It is weaker than last year, but with Deulofeu, with the return of Pereira, with Beto up front, they do have quality also with Molina on the flanks. They just need to be a little bit more courageous. So they haven't won many games so far. Only 1 win in 2022. They kept 2 clean sheets. Udinese at home so far this season not very good. Goal difference -3. Sampdoria away, the defense have been better, although recently they only conceded 13 goals in 13 away games. No, actually, this is the goal they scored for Sampdoria, so you can't expect maybe too many goals. But if you think there could be a draw, I would say, which is possible with these 2 teams, I would say go for the Asian handicap plus 0.5 for Sampdoria, which pays 203. So if there is a draw, you win 203. So if these 2 teams draw, win 203. If Sampdoria wins, of course, you win 203. It's almost a double chance.
It is actually a double chance. Both teams are 4 points away from the relegation spot, so they still need to collect points. Then we have a very interesting game, Roma-Atalanta. Actually, Roma can get the same points as Atalanta. And Danny, we've been saying this for many weeks. The best game that this Roma of Mourinho played this season was actually in Bergamo, and the most important victory in this season. Do you think they are able again to beat Atalanta at the Olimpico?
I think they will deploy a different tactics, because when they played in Bergamo, they waited Atalanta a lot and played a lot on the counter. Abraham, I remember, was really good coming towards the ball, allowing other players to run in behind him. This time, Roma will be asked to dominate the game a little bit more, also because they play at home. And Atalanta is missing some of the key players. So it will be without Zapata, might be without Malinowski. We don't know whether Muriel is going to fit to play on the bench. So maybe I would expect Atalanta to play on the counter a little bit more. Roma, they deserve to win a Spezia. They've been unlucky, sometimes too much confusion when Spezia was down to 10 men, but they kept believing, and in the end they scored in the 99th minutes on a penalty from Abraham. Already 12 goals in Serie A for Abraham. That's a little bit of a record for an Englishman. Usually English players don't do that well in Serie A, and actually to go back to another Englishman scoring so many, you have to go back to Hitchens, used to play for Inter and Milan in 63 to score as many goals. So 12 for Abraham so far. They hit the post 3 times, hit the woodwork 3 times, Roma at Spezia, already 12 times in total, 14 last year at the end of the season. So that tells you that Roma gets in good position, create good chances. Sometimes they lack precision and also a little bit of luck. 3 clean sheets for Roma in the last 6. They are 5th in the home table, so they're doing a little bit better. They have not been scoring too many goals when play at home. Careful with Atalanta, because still the second away team in the table, and they got 1 game less than Napoli, although this year, in 2022, they only beat Udinese 6-2 away, and Udinese had a lot of injuries due to COVID, but they were really convincing when they traveled to Greece in the Europa League and beat Olympiacos there. I can see the wing backs of Atalanta being more effective, Atebor coming back, Zappacosta on the left, there is always Mele to replace him, so they don't seem to suffer to have let Gosens go to Rome, to Inter. Strangely for Atalanta, have not scored in 3 of the last 4 away games, but again, there is a little bit of a caveat because they were plagued with injury, especially in the game they played at Lazio, the very same stadium a few weeks ago. If you think Roma, as I think they're not going to lose, this is going to be very difficult to bet on. You should go for an Asian handicap 0 for Roma that pays 199. Asian handicap 0 for Atalanta pays pretty much the same. Depends who you fancy. I fancy more the home team in this case. So Asian handicap 0, Roma 199. If Roma draw, you get your money back. If you win 199.
And in the fight for the European spot, we also have Lazio traveling now to Sardinia, to Cagliari, 3 points more than Venezia right now. Cagliari out of the relegation spots, thanks also to that victory against Torino, unbeaten in the last 6. Lazio with problems out of the Europa League. Danny, it's kind of tempting, these odds for Cagliari playing at home and against this Lazio that is not working in progress lately.
Because the Cagliari is one of the most improved teams in the new year, unbeaten in the last 5, only conceded 5 goals in the last 5, where previously were conceding on average 2 goals per game. Mazzarri, thanks to the new signing, Lovato, for example, at the center of defense. Altare is also playing there. In midfield, you got Baselli coming on, Dalbert playing a little bit more advanced position. He has revitalized this team, which we always said is full of talent, but he wasn't producing. So it's a very good streak of results for Cagliari. They got 2 more points on Venezia, so they're out of the relegation zone. They won 4 of the last 8, Cagliari, and they seem to do it a lot away. They win at Sampdoria, they win at Atalanta, they won at Torino, and they scored in the last 7 games. So always, you could expect goals in this one. They're getting better at home. Lazio against Napoli, I think they're unlucky. They didn't deserve to lose. But, after equalizing in the 80th minute with Pedro and after missing so many chances during the game, they just got caught in possession in the injury time and they conceded a very stupid goal. They tried to go forward. They didn't want to settle for the point. And in the end, they end up losing the game, which is true. They are still a work in progress, this Lazio team. I think they're playing better with the new, with the midfield, with Milinkovic-Savic, Luis Alberto and Cataldi. They got much more quality. The problem for me for Lazio is always on the flanks. It's a team that, again, is still not used maybe to play with a back 4. And they do suffer in those areas. Sarri said now he's happy to be out of the Europa League because now they got more time to train. So that tells you that something is not quite right there. Immobile looks very sharp against Napoli, couldn't score but created a lot of chances. He only needs 1 goal to equal Silvio Piola as the all-time goal scorer for Lazio in Serie A, 143 goals. I'm sure he will smash this record. He might score also at Cagliari. Only lost 1 of the last 5 away games, Lazio, when they played at Inter. But it's one of the worst defenses away. 24 goals conceded. Maybe Acerbi coming back could stabilize them. Second best attack of Serie A Lazio, 50 goals scored, 54 goals scored. And again, I think it's a game where you could expect a lot of goals. The first fixture finished 2-2, and also, as I mentioned, these are one of the 2 poorest defense in Serie A. 48 goals conceded for Cagliari, 42 goals conceded for Lazio. For this reason, I'm going to go for an over 2.5 goals, which pays 195.
Pays well, indeed. And the early kickoff on Sunday is Genoa Empoli. Genoa going directly to Serie B, 8 points away from Cagliari. They drew the last 5 games. Danny, now facing Empoli. They drew 4 out of the last 5 away games. Perhaps it's not a bad idea going for the draw, seeing also the odds for this game.
These are teams that cannot buy a win. Genoa is a team that cannot buy a goal. 14th draw of the season. And although a 0-0 with Inter is a great result, but it's completely useless in the situation that Genoa are. These are the team that has drawn more games in the 5 major European leagues. Third clean sheet in 5 games. The new manager, Blessing, has stabilized them, has made them more aggressive. They play more like a unit. They look more like a team. Shorter spaces between the different areas of the pitch. They press higher. And also what I like from Blessing is that in a game so important like the one against Inter, he made the hard decision. He left Destro and Rovella on the bench to play some youngsters. And it paid off. But Genoa has a problem. They need to score more. They are the worst attack of Serie A. Only 9 goal scores Al Marassi so far, and only 7 points collected at home so far alongside Salernitana. That's why they are in the bottom 3. The only win of Genoa so far this season was a 3-2 at Cagliari with 2 goals from Fares that now is on loan at Torino. So that tells you how weird that win was. Let's see how Genoa lines up for this one. They got some absentees as well, Ekuban and Cambiasso. Maybe they will. The Cambiasso with one S, not Cambiasso. Cambiasso used to play for Inter. Cambiasso, anyway, the wing back. They left the pitch with some issues. So again, maybe we'll see Destro again. And Empoli is a real strange situation. They continue to concede far too many goals. This is the second worst defense in Serie A. 53 goals, only 3 goals less than Salernitana. So if Salernitana is your benchmark, these Empoli have conceded only 3 goals less, but yet they look saved. They look, they are not in trouble. They conceded 19 in the last 8, and this is not because they're a particularly poor defense, but the way they play with Andreazzoli. They let themselves very exposed. In the away table, though, they're very good. They're 6th. They've got a positive goal difference when they travel. Let's not forget they won at Torino against Juventus, but they are winless in 10 games in Serie A, although when they travel, only 1 defeat in the last 7 away games. So you could expect Empoli to be stronger in this game than recently. For this reason, you can go for a nation handicap for Empoli 0 in the first half, 202. Again, it's a conservative bet. So if Empoli wins the first half, you win 202. If they draw, you get your money back.
These two teams are not in good form. We can say exactly the same, actually. In the next game in the Dallara, Bologna, Torino, both teams in the middle of the table. They won't qualify for Europe. They won't go to Serie B. And as I said, both are in bad form. Torino winless in the last 5. Bologna is true that they beat Spezia, but also, Danny, I wouldn't trust them. Difficult, this one, to put our money.
Extremely difficult. They seem to depend a lot on a couple of players. Bologna depends a lot on the form that Arnautovic is, and everyone else goes with him. Torino, they played many games without Bellotti. Bellotti is coming back, he keeps scoring, but they seem to be very leaky at the back, and I'm not convinced Torino's keeper is up to their standards. Arnautovic already 9 goals in the league. They score in back-to-back games. They scored with the first attempt on target at Salernitana, but in the end they didn't deserve to win, so I think the result was fair, 1-1. They just need a couple of points, really, Bologna, to be saved, but I'm sure they had better ambitions for this season. They wanted to push a little bit higher. Let's say Bologna wanted to be where Verona is this season, and they failed that. Only 1 win in the last 5 home games for Bologna. Only 1 clean sheet in the last 5 home games. So overall, just 1 win in 7, and that was against Spezia, where Spezia took the lead early. So again, Bologna got issues. Even when they play at home, they seem to concede. No clean sheet in 6 for Torino since that win 4-0 against Fiorentina. And this is a team that used to press really high, man mark, be really aggressive. They start to be a little bit leaky, and Milinkovic-Savic as a goalkeeper doesn't convince me fully. When they travel Torino, they are awful. They've been awful this season. Second from bottom away, only 9 points in the away table, and they got the worst attack of the Serie A away. Only 7 goals scored, but despite that, I think they might go on the score sheet, and I think Bologna are going to go on the score sheet. It could be a draw with goals. It could be a 1-1, but I prefer to go for a both to score, which pays 180.
Milinkovic-Savic is better when he plays for Lazio, right, Danny? In the attack.
Yeah. He plays for both.
Exactly.
How can he do that? He's the brother. But Milinkovic-Savic, the keeper, is very good with his feet. I'm not sure he's very good positionally. Anyway.
Then 2 teams that want to play in Europe. We have Fiorentina, Verona in really good form, actually. 1 defeat in the last 6. Beat Spezia. We saw Simeone scoring a hat-trick. So perhaps, Danny, this Verona can be dangerous against Fiorentina. What we should expect, I guess, is goals in the Franchi.
Always Fiorentina home, good value. Good value for goals, good entertainment. They score a lot of goals. I think they didn't manage to score only in 1 occasion when they lost 3-0 to Lazio. The recent game they won against Atalanta 1-0. A little bit deceptive, the score line, because Atalanta should have goal that was disallowed. Atalanta were missing a lot of players. So I think with Fiorentina home, you could expect a lot of goals. Praise to Fiorentina for continuing to play good football despite missing Vlahovic. That seems the system is working well for Vincenzo Italiano. Let's see what kind of Fiorentina arrives after the Coppa Italia semi-final against Juventus, which is going to be played today, the day we are recording the video. Let's see what kind of results is there. Is a massive game for Firenze. Verona, you mentioned Giovanni Simeone, 14 goals scored so far. This is the best tally for him in Serie A. He wasn't scoring since 2 months. Then he scored 3 at the weekend against Venezia, and now he's the best Argentinian striker in the top 5 European leagues. No one has scored more than Simeone in Europe. Let's see if he gets a call in the national team, maybe in place of Lautaro, who's not scoring since a couple of months. But Verona really well this season, 40 points already in 27 games in the history of Serie A with 3 points per game. They only did it faster once in 2013-2014, so obviously they got more points than last season at this stage of the season. Maybe there are a couple of doubts in Verona's side. Barak might not be playing, but you can see a lot of options up front with Lasagna, really good, Tamese having a very good season. And, I think Verona going to play on the front foot. As I said, they got nothing to lose, and they could even dream of a win in Firenze. If you go for the goals market, over 2.5 goals doesn't pay too much. You need to go over 3 to get a good return. So go for over 1.5 goals in the second half. So more than 1 goal in the second half, and that pays, I think, decent amount of money, 196.
Great. Danny, goals. Probably we won't see many goals in the next one. Or yes, because Sassuolo, they are always very entertaining playing in La Laguna in Venezia, who are actually sinking. Danny, 3 points away from Cagliari. They need a reaction if they want to stay in Serie A, especially because they are winless in the last 8 playing at home. And they are facing a Sassuolo, as we always say, Danny, Sassuolo is much more reliable when they are playing against big teams than when they are playing against teams struggling like Venezia.
I think I counted after the game they won against Fiorentina, they collected already 18 points out of their 37 they have against the big teams. So they've been really, really good. Obviously, they beat Inter away as well, and they deserve to win that game. Venezia, yes, the boat, the gondola, it's going down, I think. 3 points behind Cagliari, only 1 win in 13 games. And you mentioned the home stats are obviously very bad. The fact problem with Venezia is that they score. They got goal scorers because they play with three up front, with Okereke, with Henry, with Aramu. So, they got Samé as well, who hasn't yet scored. They go play with Johnson. So they scored 5 in the last 7. The problem is that they haven't kept a clean sheet in the last 13. And the last one was an away clean sheet at Bologna in lucky circumstances. Venezia is one of the teams that spend most of the time playing in their own half. They haven't got a watertight defense. And yes, they do. You can tell that then there is a little bit of lack of experience. Yes, let's see if they react, because that could be really difficult for a newly promoted team finding themselves in the end in the relegation zone. Sassuolo, they won 2 games in a row now with Udinese in Serie A for the second time this season. Last time was in October. They are the top scorers in Serie A in 2022, 15 goals scored already. And especially when they travel, they score away a lot. They held the record up until a few weeks ago for the second team in Europe who consecutively scored away behind Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich continues to score away. Sassuolo had a game when they didn't score, but after that they continue scoring. 26 goals scored away this season, the same as Napoli, Atalanta, Roma, one more than Inter. So when they travel, you can trust them to find the net, scoring in fact in 12 out of 13 away games this season. But again, they often play better when they play against top teams, and when they play small teams, they seem to underestimate perhaps the challenge, but they have very informed players. One and foremost, Berardi, already 11 assists, top assist in Serie A. For this reason, I'm going to go for a nation handicap minus 0.25 for Sassuolo, which again, I think is a good value, because if it's a draw, you only lose half your stake. Obviously, if Sassuolo win, you win 192.
Then we have Juve, Spezia, 7 points away from the top of the table. And I guess, Danny, there is already a debate in Italy whether Juventus can still challenge for the Scudetto. I guess we all count at least in the 3 points that they are going to get against Spezia.
They can challenge. If you have looked at yesterday's derby between Milan and Inter, you would have seen 2 teams that are tired, fatigued, with no many ideas. That start to have doubt about themselves. And Napoli, well, obviously great reaction in Rome, but Juve have been, they can match Napoli, and we know Napoli perhaps they're not used to stay such a high in the table. So Juventus, if you look at the points, they can. If you look at the way they play and the performances they put together in the last few months, you might have a few doubts because they're still not dominating and commanding the play. Look at the game they played at Villarreal, for example. Score early and then 10 men behind the ball. But at Empoli, they could score at any moment. And that's really what the difference that Vlahovic has made. Juventus unbeaten in 13 Serie A games. Recently, of course, what let them down are the draws. The draw against Torino, the draw against Atalanta, where they were not controlling the game as they should have done. So 4 wins and 4 draws in the last 8. But the last defeat came in November for Juventus. So you can expect them to win and win comfortably. We still expecting Juventus to score more goals. They are only the 10th attack of Serie A. So although they've been scoring more lately, that tells you how much issues they had before. Best home defense, only 9 goals conceded. And this, don't underestimate this in this game against Spezia. The issues for Juventus that they got a lot of injuries now, and that's a problem for them in such a crucial part of the season. They would be without Zaccaria for 2 months, without Chiellini for a couple of weeks, without Dybala for 3-4 weeks, without Alexandro, without McKennie, of course, without Chiesa for the rest of the season. Are they going to be fatigued after the Coppa Italia semifinal in Firenze? Perhaps they're even thinking about not starting Vlahovic in Firenze, which is unthinkable, to give him a rest because, of course, maybe Allegri senses that he can really get into the Scudetto fight. And the player Spezia side, which is naive, is young, is inexperienced. They make silly mistakes, like, for example, Amian getting a double yellow in quick succession against Roma, and that throws the plan out of the window. They were heroic in their defense against Roma, are also very lucky. Roma hit the woodwork 3 times. They got 4 more points on Venezia. Spezia, so they can't really rest on the laurels. They won away games. They showed us they can score, they can be threatening away, But the games they won at Napoli, Milan, they were lucky circumstances. They deserve to win at Genoa lately. They got the worst away defense, Spezia, 32 goals conceded. They will be, of course, without Amian. They will be without Kivior, who's been a very good defensive midfielder for them, screening the attacks. So Juventus to win, yeah, I think, but obviously you have to find value. Juventus to win 2-0, 220.
And Juventus will be closer either to Napoli or Milan, because we have another partita Scudetto in the Maradona. Napoli, Milan, both with 57 points. Napoli coming from beating Lazio, but we know, Danny, that they are not also in a great form. They ended a streak of 4 winless games. Milan, they look tired, as you said. Draw against Udinese, draw against Salernitana. Boof. I wouldn't put my money in any of these teams, actually.
This is difficult, but this is Partita Scudetto. For me, who wins this game is the favorite to win the Scudetto at the end. If a team gets the 3 point, he becomes the favorite.
More than Inter?
Yes. At this moment in time, yeah. Who wins this game has got the advantage on Inter. Inter have been struggling, and is a real statement. If Napoli wins this one after winning at Lazio the way they did, it's a big statement. Let's see how they manage the pressure. But Napoli is the most informed teams in Serie A. 18 points in 8 games since the beginning of the year 2022. So it's the team that's got more points so far, and is a team that show character after being completely dominated by Barcelona. So Napoli has showed their limits as well in the game against Barcelona, against teams that are technically very able to control the play. They couldn't find the rhythm, and they crumbled under the pressure. But against Lazio, a game that was very even, they had that push, that extra character that really helped them. And, belief, that's what sometimes Napoli lacked in previous years, and they seem to have more with Spalletti. When Napoli were playing really well at the beginning of the season, they were really good and entertaining to watch. Then they had a lot of injuries. Spalletti had to do a lot of rotation, and they lost contact with Inter. But I don't think there is too much difference between these two teams once they have all the players available. Also, Napoli are going to be more rested than Milan in this game, because Milan played a tense, nervous, fearful game against Inter that obviously going to drain some energies. And Milan comes on this game, they seem to have lost their way a little bit. They don't play as well as they were before. They seem to be a little bit more predictable, especially with players like Theo Hernandez, with Kessié, also on the right-hand side, with Calabria, Florienzi. They all seem to come through the middle, and teams seem to be able to defend. However, they got one of the most informed players of Serie A, which is Leao, and I would expect him to run at Napoli defense a lot. Fair draw in a row for Milan, yes, after Salernitana, Udinese, and Inter, but only lost one of the last 10. They lost to Napoli in the reverse fixtures 1-0, but that was in controversial circumstances. They had a goal disallowed in the end. They should have stood. Let's see if maybe there is a chance for Rebic. Ibrahimovic is not fit yet. I think they need a change up front and see if they can fit Rebic for the start. But Milan away are good. They are the best away attack in Serie A, 31. They always scored away, apart from when playing Oporto. They score at Liverpool. They score in Madrid against Atletico. And they face the best home defense alongside Juventus, 9 goals conceded. Who's going to win? Is the attack going to win? Is the defense going to win? Tight game, this one. Under 2.5 goals, 191.
Napoli super favorites, by the way, to this game. Odds are only 2.3. Milan victory around 4. Very good odds.
Last year Milan won in Napoli. Don't forget that. It is difficult to offer their outright market. It is very challenging.
Indeed. But the odds are very good for the Rossoneri, for Pioli's men. Danny, this is it. But of course, we have to finish with your ACCA. Lately, you are either nailing the ACCA or very close to do it.
Yeah, Sampdoria let us down. Otherwise, it was another ACCA. Inter Salernitana, both to score? No. Roma Atalanta, both to score. Fiorentina Verona, over 2.5 goals. Venezia Sassuolo, double chance, X2. Juventus to win the first half against Spezia. That gives you total odds of 12.49.
Danny, you are the best. I hope you enjoy being with me in the video and not by yourself.
Not on my own. Well, you know, emergency. But I'd enjoy doing it on my own, but I'd much rather do it.
Thanks, Danny. See you next week then.
Ciao, Edu. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed the video and hopefully also Danny nailed another ACCA. Let me know what you think about the tips in the comment section, and don't forget, of course, press the like button, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notifications, or if you prefer as well, we have a podcast for you. See you soon.